Every what you were speaking about as far as the Indians, you're correct. We're not Indians. I believe it was 1621. The word Indian, it was substituted for Moroccan. You know, and when it comes to the history and law, it's kind of very important that you pay attention to history and law because you will understand like what took place. As I pointed out when I was speaking about the United Nations and the treaties that the Empire of Morocco, created, it predates the United Nations itself and all of the new states. So, if you think about it from a logical standpoint, if the Europeans, or you say the United States, they created the word Indian and these misnomers. If the Empire of Morocco predated that, then what were we before we became Indians? We were Moroccan. I also want to point out, what the good sister McCarty was saying. It's good to, know about the pyramids and, know about, medicinal plants and these type of things, But, we really have to focus on the political aspect, the government aspect, because without that aspect, we can never get the freedom to, create institutions that we're teaching about science, that we created, or all these wonderful things that the Moors created. So, the governmental, the law perspective of it, the Moors in general, is what really needs to be focused on, because without that aspect of it, we won't be in a position to actually be free and, create a whole different time in the way of thinking to put our kids and our people on the right path to even change their perspective about life. Like, that's a very important that, we're missing. AMPAC study session 176. I don't know if who's all on the call, you got to watch it. If not, you need to watch it. But Chief Justice J. Bey, he broke down reparations. And that's a whole nother topic. But reparations is due to a state. But my point in bringing reparations is up, based on the Act of Algiers. And we'll just speak about the same particular text that Chief Justice J. Bey spoke about. On every real estate transaction, right? And we just to say on, houses sold, that transaction of new houses built and sold, I believe the number was 4 million. Each house averaged up at 415,000. When you do that, the money came out to 1 point some trillion, and the initial value that the Moroccan Empire we were due was like 33.6 billion annually. And now we're not even talking about in the arrears. If we just look at this one tax from just say 1956 to present day in time, and that's just one tax. So we're owed so much money and there's so much wealth that we have. It's life changing to create the lives that we want for ourselves and our kids. But none of that is possible without the law aspect of it. So go back to what Sister McCarr is saying. That's why that aspect of it is so important, not just particular about the money, but we gotta also understand the pen, the law creates everything. It creates a way for the money to even come into manifestation. It creates a way for freedom to come into manifestation. So without the law aspect of it, nothing else really comes full circle, right? You can't go get your land back because you know about the pyramids. You can't get your land back, even with your consanguinity in your blood. You can't go say, okay, this is my land. I got a blood test, and it's saying that my great-grandmother was here before y'all got here. It's the legal aspect about it. Okay, can you prove it through law and procedure, right? And that's why, I got to give so much, grace and praise to Jermaine J. Bey. He's the one that got us conceptually to even understand what we need to do as a people to actually get the land back and to prove that I'm Moroccan. I can prove in the court of law that I am Moroccan by way of the government and by way of the legal procedures that I took to repatriate back to the Empire of Morocco. 90% of the Moors on planet Earth that you may see on YouTube, you may see on TikTok, I know they can't prove that in the court of law no matter what they say. They understand in their mind that they're Moroccan, right? But can you prove it in a court of law that the Europeans or the colonists will have to respect? And the answer to that is no. So this is why this information is so important in the legal aspect of it before you just focus on, what you more than likely see online, the pyramids, and, we created medicine. I go back to what I spoke about the United Nations. You hear a lot of people say, well, we was the first ones here. We taught the Europeans law. Well, this is the proper concept and context of it, because this government, the Empire of Morocco, it predates the whole legal system that you see today. This is where it came from. So we're trying to empower people with the information so, yeah, you can get back in your proper position, your inheritance, and say, okay, well, yeah, we were the first one to create law and legal system that you all see on planet Earth today. And now you can show and prove, right? Because you were part of that same legal system that existed before the present legal system now, that we see all over the world. So, I just want to point that out, man, how important it is for everyone to actually learn the legal aspect of the Moors, the Moroccans, the empire, because that's the gateway to, everything else, to even give us time to even focus on those other things that's our history.